Hi, this video is about my journey back into Morse. For those of you who've watched the channel from the start, seen some of the early videos, will remember I was off the air for over 30 years. I've just been back on the air about a year and a half now. I took my Morse test at the Royal Navy base in Cullercoats in Tynemouth in the northeast of the UK back in 1985. That's when I got my A licence, for having been a B licensee for a number of years before that. And for whatever reason, I didn't take Morse any further, having passed my test. I don't think I had any online QSOs whatsoever. And a couple of years after I left the hobby, the usual pressures of family life and so on. So this video is about me getting, I say back into Morse, but I suppose it's into Morse. I hope you find it useful. So if you look on the internet, there's a whole host of sites and information about Morse code and how to learn Morse code. There is the Koch method, I think that's how you pronounce it, K-O-C-H, which is around learning the letters at full speed, the speed you want to achieve, but just learning a few letters at a time. When I learnt Morse in the 80s, it was the full alphabet at a slow speed, and then you took your test at 12 words a minute, and the characters will have been 12 words a minute as well. This site allows you to enter letters here if you want to put in individual letters for the Koch method and learn those. Or you can put in your own letters if you've got a particular letter you want to try, or numbers if you want to use a specific character set. What I found useful is taking news feeds from, say, Wikipedia or the BBC or NBC, or you can paste your own text in if you want as well. And further down the screen, we can set the speed at words per minute and the character speed within the word speed. So you can have a fast character speed and a slow word speed. Pitch is just the tone of the note, and low pass you don't really need to use that at all. And you can show the output or hide the output. So for example, if we're using the Koch method and we're using the letters K and M, for example, and we'll change, leave those as they are, 10 words a minute with characters at 18 words per minute. Show output, and if we start, so there you can see a series of letters there at that speed. What I've been doing, there's more information down here about speeds and the different methods. What I've been doing is taking text from Wikipedia featured today. I've been trying to run at 15 words a minute with 20 words a minute characters. So I'll show you what text this comes out with. So there you can see the feed from Wikipedia, which seems to be Latin at the moment. And you'll find real text is a little bit faster than letters alone, because the Morse code is based on the frequency of English letters in the English language. So the letter E, which is obviously quite popular, and A, I say popular, common is the correct term, they're the shorter codes. So you'll see words coming with the more common letters. Because they're the shorter codes, they come at you a bit faster. So again, just showing you a bit of output here. I'm getting the same one again. And the problem is, if you use the news at the moment with everything to do with COVID-19, everything starts with the word coronavirus, which is the news header. So you get to learn the word coronavirus very quickly. So I'll stop that. So you can change the tone if you want a different tone. But the standard 700's fine for mine, if I can get it back on. And you can change the speed. "25 words per minute, 25 letters. So I found that really useful. If you're having difficulty with certain letters, which sometimes you can, I don't know, J, X, Z, letters we don't use that very often in the English language, but possibly people's call signs. So if I put this back down to, I'll put it back down to 10 and 15, something like that. And this time we can say just pick those letters. So now we'll get streams just from there. So you can see the text coming up. And you can hide the output if you want and show the output. So that's a good way of practice on letters that you might struggle with. Where I am at the moment, I struggle mixing letters and numbers because I've learned normal speech, which doesn't normally have numbers in. So I've struggled getting numbers back. I'm fine with numbers and I'm fine with letters, but mixing them together can be a bit of a pain. So again, you could just type the alphabet in here, A, B, C, D, E, F, so on and so forth, and then you get to Z, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So imagine the whole alphabet was in there. So now I can get the full set of those letters. There's a number thrown in. Good call sign, FZ14. You see how you can mix them up. So really useful tool. I've been using it for news feeds, for the Wikipedia ones, if you want to avoid COVID news. And a little bit of text, a little bit of info on the code down there. So there's lots of other ones. That's the one I use, and I would wholeheartedly recommend it to people. So whatever technical method and tools you use to learn Morse code or refamiliarise yourself with the code, I would recommend a little and often approach, not to overtax yourself, because it can get frustrating and you can start going backwards in terms of errors creeping in, and then you just get annoyed with yourself. But if you're out and about and you see signs or text or newspapers and so on, just to do sort of mental conversion in your mind, to try and understand what the letters mean in Morse, and just keep your brain fresh that way. Surprisingly, after 30 plus years, I could still remember Morse code. I could tell you what the letters are. I could send Morse code, probably badly, but I could send it. It's the receive that you lose over time, and I think that is the hardest to learn, receiving code and converting it in your mind. So that's the most difficult thing. So if you can keep on the boil, reading signs, newspapers, leaflets, menus, credits on TV programmes, any text, try and keep your brain working, as well as your informal sit-down sessions, maybe on a lunch break at work or in an evening where you've just got half an hour or 15 minutes to yourself to try and work on your code. So you'll pick up the alphabet, and then you'll increase the speed. If you've done the Cock method, you're at that speed already. You're just trying to learn the alphabet and then convert into words and normal speech, and then ultimately on-air practice as well. And that's something to consider. If you can find slow Morse on a frequency that's being sent reasonably accurately, then that's a source of training as well. So there's lots of different ways to keep on the ball and keep fresh. So I can send Morse and I can receive Morse, but how do you go about having a Morse QSO? What's the format? What's the etiquette? I knew there was some shortcuts and shorthand used. So with the help of a local amateur Ron, he gave me some pointers. I've made some notes here. Some of the more common things: question mark, did it? A slash if you're working someone stroke P or you are. Da, did it? BT, this is a break term. So in the middle of a conversation, you might break up the sentences. You might give someone your name and so on, and then talk about your station. So you might use da, di, 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 da, just to break it up a bit. QRS, handy Q code, asking someone to send slower. QRL, question mark, is the frequency clear before you transmit? And then on the other side, some other sort of shorthand phrases for words, including 2 R's. Some people send 2 R's before responding just to gather the thoughts. So you might get didard it, and then they'll continue. So these are all quite handy things to know. And the next bit, which I found really useful, is a crib sheet. This might seem funny at first, but this is actually really good. Just having this next to you, so you don't have to think so hard when you're having a QSO. You can read and send the Morse what your name is, your QTH. Is it for someone who's far away or someone who's close who might know your location in more detail? Signal report, some people send N and N instead of 9 and 9, which is much shorter, going dard it. And other such things, the weather, temperature, your rig, your station and so on. And then how do you end a QSO? So thanks for the QSO, again, short end, T and X and FR. Best 73s, then call signs, and then didida, dit. So to finally sign off, didida, dit. So I found this really good as a bit of a script to follow while I've been on the air. I've only had 4 QSOs so far, so still a bit nervous, well, a lot nervous actually, and looking for someone who's at my sort of speed. So I think this is a really handy tip and worth having to hand when you're trying to build up your confidence. And the next part of this video is a recording of my 5th ever Morse QSO, and just to make it more nerve-wracking, I've recorded it for this video. You can see I follow the tips I've explained. I've also put alongside a commentary so you can understand what's being sent back and forth. So if you're thinking of getting back into Morse, or maybe looking at Morse for the first time, hopefully this video has give you a few hints and tips and maybe spur you on. I hope you enjoyed the video.